What's going on, guys? This is the Red Rogue, and while the servers may or may not be down by the time you see this video, today is the day that the Shadowlands pre-patch should be coming at long last. With it will come many changes to classes, specs, and fundamental game systems across many aspects of World of Warcraft. However, today is something special. It's an episode of my Wicked WeakAuras series. More specifically though, this will be a showcase video for my own personal rogue WeakAura setup that I've been working on for the last month or two. So let's dig in. Yes, with pre-patch out, I can finally put these WeakAuras up on wago.io for everyone to use that's been asking me like 18 billion times over the last 5 months. If I'd put them up sooner, I would have had to make 2 versions of them since there were a lot of spell changes between patch 8.3 and pre-patch, and I'm still trying to perfect them, so there may be updated versions in the future. For now though, I'm pretty happy with what I've been able to put together. The link to the collection of WeakAuras will be in a comment below, as well as in the description of like every frickin' video from now until the end of time, because I know I'll still get asked about this in almost every video I put up. So this WeakAura setup is actually 4 separate WeakAuras in a collection, and I did my best to include every relevant thing I could think of in each group. There is a buff and cooldown tracker group, a utility tracker, a roll the bones tracker, and a progress bar tracker. To show how it'll look, I hopped on the PTR while recording this just to show what it'd look like on a completely fresh installation. I've changed a few things around to be a bit of a mix between my old retail UI that I'd been using with Tell Me When, as well as my beta UI that most of you have seen. I run my game at 1920 by 1080 resolution, so I don't know exactly if that'll affect the positioning for you if you're running a different resolution or aspect ratio or something like that. That's something you might have to fiddle with. You can also change how they're organized if you want, though that'd be up to your choice, as to cover exactly how all that works would be an entire Wicked WeakAuras episode in itself, since that requires understanding scaling and text sizing and positioning and whatnot with the groups of WeakAuras. So I'm going to go on to wago.io for my collection, which I've called Rogue WeakAuras by the Red Rogue. I'll import each of these strings so you can see exactly what it all looks like, and then I'll explain how each part works really quick. Oh, and you'll notice that I didn't make a combo point tracker in any of these WeakAuras, as I prefer to use the add-on Nug combo bar, and I've had a bunch of people asking about that one too, so unless there is some huge interest in a combo point bar or I get bored, there won't be a combo point WeakAura. So we'll start with the buff and cooldown tracker WeakAura, which is on the left-hand side of my little setup here. This should cover most of your major DPS-oriented things for all 3 specs, such as Blade Flurry, Adrenaline Rush, Shadow Blades, Vendetta, Shadow Dance, and a whole lot more. I included cooldown tracking for things like Marked for Death, Ghostly Strike, Exsanguination, Blade Rush, and Killing Spree. I thought it'd be useful to also track buffs from things such as Alacrity, Hidden Blades, and Loaded Dice. This list is much more exhaustive than I'm making it sound, but most any talent that gives a buff or has a cooldown should be tracked with this particular WeakAura group. You'll see once you download it, it's got a whole lot more in it than I'm giving it credit for, honestly, because I spent a pretty good amount of time on all these, choosing how I wanted the numbers displayed and colors used on them and all that, so you might see some that look different than others, but it was honestly because some were just too hard to read if I kept them the exact same style as all the rest. I also added some visual effects to particular things, such as when Blade Flurry is active, or Shadow Dance, or Symbols of Death, things like that. On the opposite side of the screen, you'll find my utility tracker. This covers the cooldowns of nearly all of the rogue-oriented defensives and utilities we have. Things like Crimson Vial, Evasion, Cloak of Shadows, Sprint, Vanish, Shiv, Blind, Kick, Grappling Hook, Shadow Step, and Gouge. I may include more things eventually, but I felt that was a pretty good start, and it's all the things I personally like to keep track of. In the middle, we have my trusty Roll the Bones tracker. I keep mine pretty simple and don't include any words on them, which I know some people kinda like, but I remember what all these buffs do just from their images, so they're just simple timers. Easy and effective, which is how I like things. Lastly, my progress bar trackers. This covers things like energy and most of your buffs and debuffs that you might be interested in tracking. Mainly it's for Slice and Dice, Rupture, Garrote, and Ghostly Strike. For Rupture, Garrote, and Slice and Dice, they will all have a visual effect that glows around the edge when you need to refresh it for your pandemic refresh window. As a forewarning, the timer is a fixed number, so it's based on if you were using these moves at a full 5 combo points. If you're not using a 5 combo point finisher for Rupture or Slice and Dice, the timer will not reflect any difference and will still show up at the same time as if you had used 5. I also took the liberty of including 2 versions of the Slice and Dice and Rupture timer bars, so if you're running Deeper Stratagem for the 6 combo points, then the timer bar will change to that value instead. I also made them all very bright and contrasting colors, so you can more readily know which one is which just from your peripheral vision. It works for me at least, so that's why they're all really bright highlighter-esque colors. I also made all of these WeakAuras only show up when you are using the correct talent, in the correct spec, or are the correct level to even know that move. So if you're on a low-level character and decide to use these WeakAuras, then it will slowly fill out more and more information as you learn the abilities that are being tracked. Hopefully that part works right. I can't really test it entirely correctly that well, so yeah, hopefully it works. I'm sure I could go on and on about how amazing this WeakAura group is or whatever and toot my own hypothetical horn, but honestly, I'm just happy to finally be able to put these out there to hopefully help some of you folks have an easier time tracking your cooldowns, buffs, and defensives. I'm sure there are other things I can include in this WeakAura collection, and as I use them more and learn more about WeakAuras myself from practice, I'll probably add new things to it. If I do, I'll most likely make a mention about it either on my Twitter page or in a weekend video or something along those lines. I also plan on making a Rogue WeakAura setup covering legendary items in Shadowlands as well as Covenant abilities too, though that is something that is still a work in progress, and by work in progress, I mean I've only made it work for like 1 or 2 legendaries so far. So yeah, there's that too. Once I make those, I'll be sure to make another WeakAura video to let you all know about them, and I'll include them in the WeakAura collection that I've started putting together. Honestly, this is my first WeakAura groups that I've ever seriously bothered making and putting on WeakAura.io or anything like that, so I hope you find some use for them. No doubt there are a couple tweaks I could make here and there, but it definitely came out way better than I originally thought it was going to. I hope you folks enjoyed my very own personal edition of Wicked WeakAuras. If you enjoyed this video, or if those WeakAuras become useful to you, any likes or comments either here or on WeakAura.io would be exceptionally awesome things of you to do. If you're new around to my little corner of the YouTube algorithm, I'd like to welcome you to come check out the rest of the channel. I do new uploads every weekday on a variety of content, with most of it being pretty rogue specific, though I do also cover things such as guides, add-ons, and WeakAuras like you've seen in this video. I'd also like to thank all of my regular viewers, commenters, subscribers, and especially my patrons for helping make these Shiba Shenanigans possible. Thank you all so much for watching. This is the Red Rogue, and I'll see you guys around.